This is Dear Shu Mishnah Berurah as we continue learning the halachas of Zimun. We're in the middle of Simin Kuf Sadi Gimel. We're in the middle of Sif Aleph. The first part of Sif Aleph dealt not particularly with Zimun, but rather with one person being Yaitzi someone else, the lack of Zimun. That in a case in which you have two people together, there's no Zimun, and therefore we got involved in the discussion whether one should bench for the other, and we learned that is not lechatchila, and rather the lechatchila is each person to bench for themselves. Continues the Machaber in Sif Aleph, Avol Shleisha Shachlu. If three people are eating together, Einon Rishayim Lachalik. They're not able to split up. Shnayim Shachlu, two people that eat. Mitzvah Shechzu Achar Shishi Zarv Imam Nazim. The mitzvah is to find the third person to have a zima with them. Chen Arba Chamisha. Similarly, 4 or 5. Asur Lahem Lachalik. 4 or 5. It's forbidden for them to split up. Why? Shekulam this chayvu bezimun chiv is a zimun is a chiyuv. Shisha, 6 people nechalakim, they can split up. Kiv sheshar zimun lechol chabura, cause you're left with a zimun even if 3 leave. Ad asara until 10. And once you have 10, then they as well cannot break up because you have to say the Shem Hashem. Says Ramah. Rak im yirtza nechalakim, excuse me, you could split up. Continues the Machaber mitzvah lachzar achar asara. Okay, and that's going to be the part with asara, so let's get there. So let's go back to the Mishnah Berurah Sivkatan of Vav, in which the Mishnah Berurah explains that you're not able to break up once you have a zimun. Einon rishayim lechalik, says the Mishnah Berurah. Why not? Because once you eat together, there's a chiyuv zimun. V'dan, you should know. The chiyuv zimun hu davka shachlu pas shechayv laberch zamazayin. Says the Mishnah Berurah, the chiyuv of zimun is davka when you eat bread. But if you eat fruit, even fruits of the zayin minim, loy, there's no chiyuv of zimun kedekayim lam zim reisha gimel. De'ein zimun lepeiros. Says the Mishnah Berurah. Fascinating. There are those who are machmir that even by the zayin minin, you need zimun. Says Mishnah Berurah, it's toiv. You shouldn't have a party of zayin minim. To get out of the machlaikis. This would be relevant, I guess, on the zayin meat, but on the Tu B'Shvat Tish. Often you're going to have the zayin minim and you have a kviyas together. Would sound like the Mishnah Berurah is against that. Maybe an eitzah would be would be to wash. I don't know. But the Mishnah Berurah concludes Berkei Yosef Kasav Shaminik Pashalik Boy Kamen Ashal Peres which is Amin V'chein Lachol Pasa Babikistin. Says Mishnah Berurah, the minhag in reading the Shar Tshuva and the Magin Gibayrim, the minhag was not to be, we'll call it scrupulous, like the Toivi just said, and rather to have a kviz in the zayin minim and mezainis, and not to worry about the shita that says there's a din of zimun. Says Mishmur Sivkot and Zayin, it's Mr. Sheyachzru. If you have 2 people, you should find a third. Hainu. Emu imayim bebesim. If they're in the house, mitzalit and davar malach holknei yitzarif imayim. It's a mitzvah to have them be mitzarif. Now, interesting word. Mishmur said davar ma. Give them something, so the part of the zimun we'll have to see what that means. Doesn't directly eat with them. It's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to call them so that they will be part of the zimun. That if there's one person, he doesn't have to look for 2. Continues Mishnah Berurah Sivkatan Tes Shekulan Nischayvu. Kloimar. Af al pi shem yilich echad yishar shloisha v'yizamnu. Even though if one leaves, there's still 3 left over. So you would think, what's the big deal? There's 5 people, there's 4 people. Let 1 or 2 of them leave. Who cares? Mikol Makah, says the Mishnah Berurah, who lo yatzi dechai v'asai. The one that leaves loses his zimun. Shkamu nischayv v'zimun. He himself has his own obligation in zimun. But if there's 6 people, then we said then you're able to split up. Asar lekan v'asar lekan nimsa shekulin zimnu b'shem. Again, so importantly, the Mishmur is telling us doesn't mean lechalik to lose your minyan. It means once you're at 20, then they each could have a zimun b'shem. Einon mechuyavim lechalik. But the Ramah over here pointed out, that was the Ramah, excuse me. The Ramah continued that when you have 6, you're not mechuyav lechalik, meaning maybe one would think, wait, I have 6, I should make 2 zimumin lechatchila to be marba in the zimun. No, you're not mechuyav to do that. Explains the Mishnah Berurah Sivkatin Yudal of Hainu Delaya Amrino. We do not say Toiv Yoiser Les Chalkei LaHarbis Bebrachos. It's better to split up to have more brachos. Hainu Darkei Moshe Daita Da'adarabim. Says the Darkei Moshe Hafoch Shem Mitzvah Min Amocha Shaloi Les Chalik. It's better not to split up. Why? Bein Esrim Ubein Shisha Mishom, of course, Beroiv Hadras Melech Rak. There's no isser if you split up, as long as you have your own minyan, your own zimun, and leave behind the same. There are those who argue and they hold some argue that you are allowed to do this. Finally, Sivkatin Yebeiz, that Sivkatin Yebeiz said the Machaber to Mitzvah Lachzar Achar Asara, explains the Mishnah Berurah Kedeshi Yechol Varach B'Hashem, so that you have the Shem Hashem. Ein B'Achronin Daviluim Shiva Mitzvah Lachzar Achar Oich Shleisha Vayin Mashakasam Leel B'Sivkatin Zayin. Which right now we're going to go in and we're going to see the Dirshu's on Sivkatin Zayin. Let's begin with Dirshu note number 7. Says the Dirshu, the Kvarnis Chayvu Zimun Kishekulam Yachlu B'Yachad. Explaining the din that once you have 3 people, you have a chiv of Zimun. Says the Dirshu note number 7, a very common occurrence. And let's hopefully see what the appropriate halacha is. Hamishtatev bechasana. You go to a wedding and you begin eating with the guests. So, and parenthetically, we point out, because she'em ischalach lavad avrot l'sayim mukdam in a chiv Zimun. As we're going to see, if you started on your own and you did your own thing, that's a different story. But once you started everyone together, then v'kashal v'zakiv, and then the classical story is you don't want to wait. You don't want to wait for benching at the simcha. You don't want to wait for the whole story. So what do you do now? Says Ramoshes, what do you do at the chasana? You're at the chasana and you start eating together and you had a chiv and zimun. Now what do you do next? Says Ramosha, the 8 says as follows: Sheyoymar befeirush. You should say explicitly before you eat that I'm not waiting for the zimun and in not going to be with everyone else. Why? Why do you have to say befeirush? Says Ramosha. Bistama, when you get together to eat, that is inherently a kvias. And therefore, if you said explicitly, Yifter mizimun b'leis chayev v'sheva brachos. And says Ramosha, Yesh Lisvech Alzel Maisa, when there's a tzayrich, the hechrich lotzis. Kigoin, says Ramosha, Shetzach Lesakiv Harbe, you have to do it a long time, Achizam Nusham, until you make a zimun. Vutzach Lahashkim Ba'boikir Leparnasas, says Ramosha, you got to get up early in the morning. Hagoy is Chach Shlema on the Shulchan Aruch, Mufurash, just like Ramosha, that when you're eating together, Al Das, Yerushalayim Lachalik, if you're eating with the mindset you're not going to stay, then there's no dinner of Zimun Chimfurish in the grass, or Letzion. They say B'Shem the Chazanish the same thing that he told Rechaim Kanievsky when you're in yeshiva and you're quickly going back to learn. What do? Since you wash your hand and you don't want to be mitzaref. Now, if we look carefully at the words of the Archos Rabbeinu, he's being a little bit more liberal. And he's saying, Shekivan kishen noitel yadav shenoi roitze, that your das was not to do a basara, rak b'shleisha, then it's going to be fine. However, when they ask, Chai Kanievsky, him aflizim b'shleisha, does this eitzah work, meaning to not even have 3? He said, Ein kidai levatel zimun b'shleisha. Whereas the Buchacha says, then it works entirely. So we see what's going on over here is that lemaisa, there is this eitzah, there's this eitzah for 3, there's this eitzah for 10, but the best is to say it and to have it in mind explicitly when one starts. And if one did not, then unfortunately he has a chiyuv and he's not allowed to leave. If one thought, okay, it's not going to be so long, which often happens, let's say maybe by a bris or a siyum, and you think, okay, I'll stay for benching, and then in the middle you realize, I'm totally need to leave. Lamaisa, you have a chiyuv zimun, and you're in a little bit of a pickle. The only thing you could do is you could make your own zimun. We saw, which Mr. Brura was shari b'machlekes, did have Raivam or not. But again, your own zimun has to be as big as the zimun that is there. If it's 10, it's 10. If it's 3, it is 3. A few more dirs over here, someone who's eating at a Sheva Brachas. B'chuyim l'shmaya to the Sheva Brachas. 10 people want to make their own zimun by the Sheva Brachas, and through this, they're going to miss the Sheva Brachas. Says Dayan Weiss to Minchas Yitzchak, if one is makel to leave the Sheva Brachas machas seirach dochof, he has what to rely upon. If he did not make a Tanai in the beginning. But again, it's because he made his own zimun of 10. Says Rav Vazin and Shevet HaLevi, even though Meikar Adin, there's no chashash. However, Amachmer Zeh Tavel of Bracha, even though it's not min adin. So there's a new level, whether there's a din to listen to Sheva Brachas, once there is going to be Sheva Brachas. And finally, let's just conclude with Tirshu note number 10. When you're splitting into two groups, says the Berachas Abayis, Yishlem Li Zoyer. You got to be careful not to hear the zimun of the guys next to you. Why? Because if you hear it, then you got to answer amen, and then you're going to mess up because there's not going to be enough people left for the other zimun. Says Kanievsky and Shelis Rav, Shachem Shabbatayim Yishar Lo Yanu Bar Shachalnu Ali Yamtinu Li Zimun Basara Shivaseifa Suda. Okay, and since this would be a difficult case, I guess we're going to see that B'Shasat Chak, there is a scenario that you can make even 3. Sorry, one more dirshu over here, note number 11. He discusses this Roiv Am versus splitting up. Says the Taz, Shazimin Basara is considered more of a Roiv Am. And therefore, when we have a Zimun of 3 people, it's a mixus Roiv Am. However, Vadik Sheish Rak Shleisha Nasha Nakshav Zimun Hu Roiv Am, it has its own din of Roiv Am, therefore with regard to Kiddush, etc. Says the Bir Alacha, the Chai Adam, that even 3 people is considered Roiv Am with regard to the Ma'ila of Kiddush Levana. For Birchas HaMitzvahs, Shikam B'Shnayim have a level of Raivam, and basically what we're seeing over here is, at every level, there is a newer level of Raivam, and the machlekes here is, if you can have 10, if that's enough, or you should try to have more people. We'll finish and we'll conclude Sif Aleph in the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.